Today I'm going to do a walk through the walkways on the new expressway in Kapiti. One of the great things is that in my neighbourhood they've built this little shortcut which shortcuts through this little reserve, and the shortcut makes the walk from my house to where the Kapiti Expressway is actually much shorter. It'll also help people who are going to the Polytech, which is awesome. A little bit of an interesting thing about the expressway is these concrete walls down the sides actually keep a bit of the traffic noise down, which is quite nice. But of course there's still a lot of traffic noise. Now just behind this little shrub there's a hole in the ground. It's along the side of this walkway here. I actually think somebody stole the tree. I've noticed a couple of these little holes, so it's a little bit odd. And as you can see, they did quite a good job of putting some native plantings along here. There's these trees here, and just some natives. Here's the entranceway into one of the new walkways, so I'm going to walk down this path today and go down and check out some of the new bridges. In the quest to plant more native trees, we have this pahutakawa behind a little screen. The little screen is made out of, looks like pressed aluminium. It's quite nicely punched, and this keeps the wind off the trees, because this area can be pretty windy. So while the trees are establishing, and then the grass-like plants there are native flaxes. Native flaxes do very well in this environment. And then on the other side of the road here, you can see a drainage area. This drainage area, kind of like a swamp. Maybe it's natural. I'm not actually quite sure of the history of this, but it's old, but provide good habitats for things to live in. Now we're being buzzed by the helicopter. Kapiti Coast Airport is just behind those buildings that you can see with the island in the background, so the helicopter is just going into land there. So here we have a sound wall with the highway behind it, and down here is a drain. This drain, I presume, is just draining water straight off the highway into this garden. And this garden's full of these reed type grasses that are going to absorb the water. So when you have a big downpour of rain here, the water is actually being managed locally. It's not draining into the town's water system at this point. It looks like it's actually just going into this drainage ditch where the water will settle down into the sand, maybe settle back down into the water table. Here we have one of the camera towers. These camera towers, as far as I know, report back to the Helston Road Traffic Control Centre, which controls the traffic for Wellington's urban motorway, as well as some areas around the country. The highway at this area has a walking track and cycle track all the way along it, and it's all lit with these LED lights, which is great because it gives people a good way of getting from Kapiti Road to the southern parts of the suburb, even when it's nighttime. I'm walking south at this point, so I'm going to go down across this new pedestrian bridge which goes across the Wharemako stream. At least I think it's called the Wharemako stream. There's some guy on a e-bike. There seems to be a lot of e-bikes suddenly in the neighbourhood. Maybe it's become a really good fast shortcut way to get around the suburb. So I'm going to go across that new bridge there and then go up the pathway straight through the middle of the picture towards those buildings in the background. That's down at Raumati Road. Then I'm going to walk south from there along a new section of the walkway and across the new pedestrian bridge. As you can see, there's quite a lot of people going through all this parkland now, which is awesome. We have the new pedestrian and cycle bridge in the foreground and the new expressway bridge in the background. The walking track here, I'll just rotate around a little bit. This walking track here is made out of quite rough stone, but it's just a shortcut part that connects just one street into the walkway and cycleway system. So while this main track with the lighting along it is actually asphalted and got little stone chips, which makes it very nice for riding bikes on, some of the other tracks are of a bit of a low quality, but the low quality ones aren't for people to travel long distances on. I think they've just been put here as a convenience during the construction of the expressway project. In the middle of the shot here is a small pond, and in the pond you can see that the grass is dirty. It has a mud layer because it's been quite rainy in the last few days, and this area is designed to work as a flood surge pond. So this area has filled up with water and almost submerged most of the grass that you see in most of this image. And that water that's been banked up here isn't running immediately down the streams, which is protecting the streams and the wildlife in the streams. It's protecting the banks by not letting all the water run down at one time. There's an aircraft heading into Kapiti Airport to land. Just looks like somebody's private plane. It looks like most of the water that runs off the highway is running into these drains, and these drains are just directly funneling the water off the highway into these trenches where the water is slowly reabsorbed into the neighbouring water table. You can see the contrast between the area that's been flooded and that which hasn't been flooded quite strongly here. So it will be interesting to see how this area develops in time with further rain events. In the distance there you can see the kids from a local school. Must be going on some kind of a day outing. Not really sure what they're up to today, but they could be coming to look at the area, or maybe they could be going to the swimming centre. Sure.
Hi.
Yeah, leave the poor man alone.
So that massively increases the number of people walking along here today. Looks like about a whole school worth of kids. So there's plenty of ducks living on the far bank of the lake area there. I guess that area where the ducks are hanging out is just a little bit quiet than up close here, especially with the huge amounts of children who just went by. So that was interesting. Looks like the young ducks are just taking a tour of their habitat. There's quite a reasonable amount of permanent pond here, I guess. This is the Romati Road overbridge. I didn't realise that there was a pedestrian bridge over this. I never did understand how the walking path was meant to join up. So this is my first look at this walking path connection. So this is actually really good. It makes this route much more straightforward. So the other day I kind of thought that summer was over, but the cicadas seem to disagree with me. They like living in this big eucalyptus tree on Romati Road. In the far distance you can see one of the TMS traffic management signs. The signs seem to be telling a lot of people to drive at 100 kilometers per hour. Because the road is so flat and smooth, there's a bit of a tendency to easily drive much faster than you would think you're driving because your car doesn't really have that much strain on it. Here you can see a drain that runs off directly into this ditch, and you can see there's a couple of other little drains around here. So I think this one is draining water which comes off the bridge. The bridge is just in the background, just there. You can't really see it from this angle. But you can see that natural drainage is a major part of the project here. So my walk seems to be going pretty well. Been talking to a lot of locals who are riding through and walking through the area. Everybody seems to love the new pathways. Not certain that a lot of people like the noise of the traffic, but it's sort of, most people actually think it's overall a benefit. Well, it's turned out really sunny, so summer's not really over. Quite often we get really nice long autumns in this part of New Zealand. So hopefully that will go on. Otherwise, I've been talking to a lot of people along the highway. They've been enjoying walking and riding their bikes. Traffic's always difficult when you're trying to talk around traffic, but you know. At least a lot of this traffic is removed from the middle of Paraparaumu sort of city centre or town centre, so it's a bit of an improvement on all the surface streets. So there's the expressway, and I'm on Henry Shoreway, and Henry Shoreway is just a little walkway and cycleway that rolls down to this part of the suburb here. I'm going to say that this part of the suburb is just Romati, or not really Romati Beach or Romati South, but the inner part of Romati. There's a school down here in the distance. Perhaps the school's just over there. And this is a good shortcut walkway that joins some suburbs together. So overall, the impact of the walkways and cycleways joining the suburbs together is actually pretty good. Centre of picture here, we have the destination. The destination is the walking bridge, which goes over the southern end of the new expressway. I just wanted to walk down and take a walk over it and just see how its architectural style is and what areas it connects together. Just in this little area here, we've got a bit of sort of wild scrubby land. It seems to be filled with gorse and lupin. One of the things about New Zealand is New Zealand has completely different plants than pretty much everywhere else in the world. And when European settlers came in, they had an acclimatization board, and their goal was to try and bring all of the foreign plants and animals in, or many foreign plants and animals, to make this country seem more like their old countries that they had left, which is a bit of a shame, because they ended up filling up the country with all these quite invasive plants, which just persist in annoying us. One thing that's interesting about gorse, however, is that actually, if you do nothing with it, it becomes a good nursery for native plants to grow in. So, because a lot of our native trees, as you can see in the background, they grow much taller than gorse does. So, if you do nothing, seeds that have been in the ground for many decades, plus seeds that are brought in by birds or by floodwater, will grow amongst the gorse. And then as the trees grow, they'll grow being protected by the gorse at first, and then once they get taller than the gorse, they'll shade out the gorse. So if you do kind of nothing, New Zealand trees will get over some of these annoying plants like gorse and lupin. So I'm not sure what they're doing in this area. It doesn't really look like they're doing anything special. In comparison, you can see along the sides of the expressway here, they've planted lots of plants that are New Zealand native, and these are going to inhabit the area and grow and help provide a bit of erosion and noise protection for the locals. So here's some of that gorse I was talking about before. You can see that it provides a good nursery for spiders. There's quite a few of these spider nurseries here. But you can actually see there's some native trees growing amongst the gorse. So these native trees, as they get taller, they're going to outcompete the gorse, and that'll be good. I'm not sure why this gorse here is apparently dead, sort of dried off. It might be just because it's summer, but it might have been that they might have sprayed some of the gorse along the edge of the cycle path here. There's some piece of solar powered monitoring equipment up here, so they've made a cutting through the gorse to get up to that equipment, whatever that is. I'm not certain that it's for weather or flooding. It might have a water depth monitor there. Just on the other side of the highway there is this really amazing glass-roofed house. I guess it's a bit sad for them because it's going to be kind of impacted a bit by noise, but maybe as those trees grow there, it might improve things. Plus, this part of the highway has been laid with this very smooth asphalt. So, you know, the tyre noise is quite low, although the aerodynamic noise of vehicles is considerable because of the speed of the traffic at 100 kilometres per hour here. There are many of these drains. You can see that they're well signposted. They don't want people going in them. I guess the water could be a little bit contaminated by runoff from the road. And yeah, I don't know who would really want to swim in here. Right, so we've got the bridge here on my right hand side, or left I guess, and this is the end of the walkway that's separated from the traffic. So now we're just going to walk along the footpath at the side of the road and go for a walk over the bridge. There's still a bit of construction going on down here. It's possibly drainage, although I'm not certain. I can see some pipes in the yard there, so yeah, drainage is a possibility. So you can see that they built this nice new road here which connects a few houses down a couple of driveways along the way, and that's the entrance onto the bridge. There are a lot of people out walking today. It's a really nice walking day. It's a little bit, the air's a little bit cool, but it's quite comfortable, and it's very warm in the sun, so it's pretty pleasant. Not very much wind. This is just about at the southern end of the expressway. There's still a little bit of construction going on at the roundabout down there, and they're still finalising the way that the traffic will merge with the existing Mackay's part of the highway. So if we go about a kilometre south of here is where all the traffic's merged, and then a couple more kilometres further south you have Mackay's Crossing, and then a couple more kilometres south you can see in the centre of the image there's this V in the mountains between the darker coloured mountain and the other mountain to the right hand side, and that is where the Transmission Gully Highway is being built. So this highway connects onto this next segment, the Transmission Gully Highway, and the Transmission Gully Highway goes south right down to Pahatahanui and down to Paroroa, so it's just south of Whitby. So it's a lot of big highway projects going on, making better routes in and out of New Zealand's largest cities. Since I was talking about invasive species like gorse, I think invasive species is actually a technical term, so might want to moderate that. We have this one, blackberry. There's a lot of blackberry growing around the Kapiti area as well, spread by birds, and it seems to grow really well in the soil around here. One advantage is that you can go and pick the blackberries in the summer and make lots of delicious blackberry things. But on the other hand, we've got some other annoying things. So we've got this, just right at the bottom of the picture, there's some quite broad leaves, which are these sort of heart-shaped green leaves, which is convolvulus. It has the pink flower that you can see about in the middle of the picture. Convolvulus is quite horrible because it seems to travel down waterways, but also it spreads across the land. Because it's a growing vine like the blackberry, it just grows over everything. So convolvulus will strangle other plants in the area. So if you have convolvulus on your property, you've got to keep it under control. I think that convolvulus can be eaten by perhaps cattle and sheep, which is, one saving grace. Here's some wild fennel. So wild fennel seems to grow in a lot of places in New Zealand as well. It's got a really interesting fragrant smell. It's related to the fennel that people use in various types of cooking, but I don't know if wild fennel is edible. It has a really strong fragrance, so it probably has a ridiculously strong flavour. Someone might be able to explain more about wild fennel in comments. Thanks. I don't know what this plant is called, but it's pretty common around the area as well. I've seen quite a lot of it. It has these green sort of seed spikes that grow up, and then they grow into these sort of deep red kind of blackberry colour fruit. So that's interesting. I don't know anything really much about this plant. Well, here's my first walk over the footbridge. It's come out pretty hot and sunny now. You can see the highway down there, and nice architectural style of the footbridge. So this is looking north from the Rongamo footbridge. It's a concrete truck just going up the side road there, going to the turnaround. And you can see the traffic flows quite nicely here. Nice smooth asphalt. So that construction project still going on there, the one I presume is drainage. They're putting some kind of a sump type thing in there. Got the nice flow of traffic. In the background you can see the commuter railway line. This commuter railway line goes about another, 10, 12, 15 k's further north to Waikanai and Paraparaumu. This is the northern line of the Wellington above ground train network. So that's sort of the Wellington Metro, called Transmetro. And then you can see at the side, you can see the entrance onto this overbridge, and you can see head south. Right at the end, you can see the slow down to 70 kilometres per hour because the interchange, which interchanges with the old highway, hasn't been completed yet. This is looking east towards Old State Highway 1, which is still the fastest way to get to Paraparaumu and Waikanai. And this is looking west towards the trees that are full of cicadas. Here's the contracting team working on building the drainage system here. On my walk today, I walked from Kapiti Road, which is the red line, followed the black line all the way to Poplar Ave and up to where the railway line was. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.